So I will try and keep this sort of short because I'd like to be able to do some questions and answers at the end. I was going to do a live demo, but when I was getting my equipment ready for this morning, I found out that that hat was broken. I moved down here 3 weeks ago from Newcastle on Tyne, and I had it in the bag and it must have gotten smashed at some point. So unfortunately you're getting a very informal talk with no slides because I anticipated doing a live demo. So one of the things that I'm going to talk about is this. This is the My Home Energini Adapter Plus. They changed the name of it since I bought it. It used to just be the Adapter Plus or the Energini Adapter Plus. It comes with this hat, which is a two-way radio, allowing you to speak to the plug and get some results back, including power draw, whether it's on or off, things like that. Okay. So what I did with it, as part of my dissertation for university, was I created an IoT alarm clock using the Google Calendar API and another API made by Whaley Geek, which is an open source API on GitHub, which then does all the talking in between the Raspberry Pi and the adapter. So like I said, this is going to be very informal. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the disastrous choices I made during my dissertation, including overclocking the Raspberry Pi without the right voltage, and having an adapter which was broken, managed to put a whole 110 volts through the Raspberry Pi and shorting out the board. So obviously one of the things that came up when I was first coming up with this idea was I hate getting up in the morning. I'm not a morning person whatsoever, so I wanted something that would allow me to switch an SAD light on, especially in the winter. So SAD, for those of you who don't know, is seasonal affectation disorder. It's a mental thing where when it's grey and miserable, not quite like today, this is almost light, you feel depressed and a bit down. And so getting woken up in the morning, nice big bright light coming straight at my face, along with some music, was exactly what I needed. So I did a bunch of research on all the different products you can get out there. Philips has a wake-up light, which at the time was £220, I think it was, which was just a little bit ridiculous for me with the budget I had at university, which was about £3 and a bunch of string. So I found this online, managed to wangle in some extra money off my parents so I could actually buy it, and spent some time looking up ways of talking to it and getting it to work how I wanted. And then finally looking up the Google API, which I don't know whether any of you have ever played around with it. So Google has a website devoted to their APIs, which includes the calendar, Gmail, Google Docs, and ways of accessing all of them using OAuth, which is an authentication solution, so that you can integrate them into your code and get. So for me, what I wanted was calendar results back, so that if I set up a calendar entry that said caveman alarm, because I thought that would be cool and give it a sort of hip name, and obviously cavemen woken up by sunlight, you know, gotta be similar. And so when I entered that into the calendar, it would then look it up, check the time that it is now. If it was the same, it would then set off the light and the alarm, and then move on to the next entry in the calendar. So obviously I don't have much with me today because it wasn't particularly planned. The way that I solved my problem was I got the calendar entries for the next 5 calendar entries did a check to see if any of them held the string, caveman alarms. If they did, then it would check the time against that string every 30 seconds. And it's an incredibly inelegant way of doing it. But I wanted to do it all within the program itself. I didn't want a database or anything like that to slow me down. And I ran out of time at the university, which is my first disastrous choice at university, doing my dissertation. I came in and I had really big plans. I was going to create this alarm, I was going to give it a GUI, I was going to put it on a little touch screen so that you could actually turn the light on and off, and set a new alarm from the touchscreen, do this, play music from it, set it up so that it would Bluetooth my speakers and play the music through that. And turns out, working 3 to 4 days a week, going to uni and doing that wasn't possible. So yeah, time management. I got a lot better at it afterwards because I knew that I sucked at it during uni, and so I made it one of my focuses to actually move on and start getting better at it. The other sort of disastrous thing that I did, like I said, was having too much scope. So I wanted to do the GUI, I wanted to do everything. It was going to be a nice finished product. And I realised then I'd never coded in Python before. I'd never used that Pi hat before. Basically, I'd never used a Raspberry Pi before, apart from putting Kodi on it and using it as a stream media from my main desktop PC. And about 2/3 of the way through the year, I suddenly realised I have no working code. I have 0 actually written about my dissertation, and I need to pull back on the scope of this project, make it as simple as possible. And what I didn't realise at the time was I was actually working towards an agile process. I was bringing out a product as soon as possible, and a working product of that, and then slowly getting it refactored and actually improving on it afterwards. There's a number of things that I'd like to do. So one of the things I want to show you is this is the API from Whaley Geek, which is the one that talks to the Pi and the plugs. I basically did very little with this code. I changed a few variables. I got it set up so that it would work with my version of it. And that was basically it. He deserves all the credit for actually getting this up and working, because it's incredibly difficult to do it without it. Because the actual talking between the device and the Raspberry Pi is all done over a really good format. So yeah, that's all I really wanted to say. So if anyone has any questions, I know it was a sort of terrible talk, but yeah.
Did you actually make it?
Yes,
Oh,
I made it. I've been using it for 2 years up till now, after my dissertation. One of the things that I'd like to do is I recently learned how to do Ruby on Rails and create a web server doing that. I would like to add a Ruby on Rails website where you can turn it on and off and give it a GUI, things like that.
How did you go about setting your scope in the beginning if you said it ended up too broad?
I basically took the idea that I wanted to build an alarm clock and ran with it. I was sort of a terrible student. I didn't really look at anything before I started going off on wild tangents, and I thought I was a lot better than what I was. So, like I said, the original scope was to have a fully designed product. It slowly dissolved down to, well, get rid of the GUI, that'll make it easier. Oh, well, I'll get rid of the music playback, that'll make it easier. Okay, it's going down to the most basic thing whatsoever. I've got 2.5 weeks left before I have to hand it in.
That's pretty much every dissertation student ever, so don't worry about that.
No, I know, me and my friends spent the night before having to hand in our dissertations in the library, writing them.
Yeah. Even if you're prepared, that still ends up happening.
Yep.
Does it work? Do you get up in the morning now?
Yes. Yeah, it does work really well. It's a shame I don't have any pictures of it really, because it does work really well. So it's, like I said, it's a really bright lamp, and I think it wouldn't work if it was just a normal lamp. But because it's the SAD lamp, it means that it's basically sunlight. It's like full noon sunlight, which is really, really nice, to be honest with you, in the morning. Right, well thank you for coming. I'm sorry about not being able to do the demo. I will definitely come back at some other point and try and get it done once I actually buy the hat again. Yeah.